guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I am discussing a history of Westeros, kind of with theories intermixed. So this is a theory that has been speculating will appear in season 7, and I'll get into why that's been speculated a little bit later. But this is the idea that the tourney at Harrenhal will appear in the next season of Game of Thrones. Now, this event happened just before Robert's Rebellion, so it actually precludes the book series, and it's such an amazing event. I really hope that it does appear in the show, and I hope these rumours are true. It's such an important event. It was kind of the start of Robert's Rebellion almost. It really kind of set things in motion with what happened during the tourney and how it affected certain relationships, and I'll be going into all of that today. So I'm going to talk you through the history of what happened, some theories surrounding the tourney, and then why I think it's going to appear in season 7 and how I think they're going to adapt it for the show. So let's just jump right in, and if you do like this video and you do like my channel, please subscribe and like this video. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, requests, or you want to discuss theories with me, comment below and I'll get back to you. Okay, so the tourney at Harrenhal we have seen written about in the books, and it has been mentioned in the show a couple of times. It took place in 218 AC and was in the year of False Spring. It was held at Harrenhal by Lord Went. He held the tourney in celebration of his maiden daughter's name day and asked his sons, he had 4 sons who entered the tourney, to defend her honour and defend the title he had given her, which was Queen of Love and Beauty. Bit of a weird thing to give your daughter, but okay, let's just roll with it. So, yeah, basically, a lot of important figures entered this tourney because of how prominent it had become. Lord Went offered lavish prizes to all the winners. It lasted 10 days and it included pretty much every competition it could include. So it was a really big deal across Westeros. Now, there were some really important figures that took part, and I'll just kind of list off the main ones now. So we had Lord Went's sons, Prince Rhaegar Targaryen. Jaime Lannister was going to compete but was called back to King's Landing by King Aerys. The Knight of the Laughing Tree, who I'll get into later, Brandon Stark, Sir Arthur Dayne, Sir Barristan Selmy, and Robert Baratheon. Ned Stark, Benjen Stark, Lyanna Stark all attended, as did King Aerys and his wife, Rhaegar Targaryen. It was a pretty important event, and a lot of important figures attended. Now, the result of the tourney was that Prince Rhaegar won the joust and was allowed to name his own Queen of Love and Beauty. However, before this happened, Prince Rhaegar had been scheming. The idea is that Prince Rhaegar probably attended the tourney to try and get support from the major lords of all the houses to unseat his father, the Mad King. Now, the Mad King had got progressively worse over the years leading up to the tourney. He had stopped leaving the Red Keep out of paranoia, had been using fire to burn his enemies already, and was just really bad at ruling. Tywin Lannister had resigned as Hand of the King, and so King Aerys was kind of left to his own devices, and without Lord Tywin propping him up, he was a pretty poor leader and just didn't know how to run the realm. So Prince Rhaegar intended to get the support of all the major lords to unseat his father and be king, so he could kind of try and fix things. However, King Aerys found out about this slight and attended the tourney. It's the first time he'd left the Red Keep in many years. So from the start, this tourney was steeped in treachery. It was a really big deal right from the start because it kind of fractured the relationship between King Aerys and Prince Rhaegar, as King Aerys now saw Rhaegar as one of the people plotting against him. And as I said, Prince Rhaegar did win the tourney at the joust, which was considered the most important event, and he was allowed to name his own Queen of Love and Beauty. Everyone presumed he would name his wife Elia Martell. However, he rode past her and put a wreath of winter roses, pale blue in colour, in Lyanna Stark's lap and named her his Queen of Love and Beauty. It was a pretty big deal, extremely scandalous that he would do that. In one move, he slighted 3 houses. House Martell, because his wife was from House Martell. House Stark, because he kind of offended the Stark family by naming Lyanna Stark his Queen of Love and Beauty, and House Baratheon, because Robert Baratheon was already betrothed to Lyanna at the time, and it was a huge slight. It was basically like if you're in a club and this guy came up to your girlfriend in front of you and like started grinding on her. Modern equivalents of Game of Thrones are always fun to think up. Okay, so that's basically what happened at the tourney. That's pretty much the outcome. However, there are some theories surrounding the tourney at Harrenhal that are really key towards the storyline, and I'm just going to delve into those now. The first one is talking about a character I've already mentioned, the Knight of the Laughing Tree. Now, no one knows who this character is. It's still unknown, as it hasn't been explained in the books and obviously has never been mentioned in the show. So the Knight of the Laughing Tree entered the tourney, defeated 3 knights, and then dropped out abruptly. He got a lot of attention from the common people and the lords and ladies who were watching, as it was a bit weird for someone to attend this tourney, never reveal who they are. He always wore armour, beat 3 knights and then just drop out for no reason. He didn't stay to complete the tourney. He didn't kind of show off who he was. He didn't have any squires or any people helping him. So he was a really weird figure that a lot of people wanted to know who he was and what he was doing. Now, the Knight of the Laughing Tree has sprung a multitude of theories. I personally believe the Lyanna Stark theory. This is the idea that Lyanna Stark was the Knight of the Laughing Tree, and to understand this we have to go back a little bit. So first of all, we have the fact that Howland Reed attended the tourney when he was 15 years old. Howland Reed, obviously from House Reed, the father to Mira and Jojen. So he attended and got bullied by some knights' squires. They were making fun of him, stole his weapons, and basically Lyanna Stark found them bullying him, intervened, and the 3 squires went away ashamed at being confronted by this noble lady telling them to back off. This created a friendship between Howland Reed and Lyanna Stark, and he dined with the Northerners that night, and it kind of sprung the House Reed, House Stark friendship, which is pretty cool in itself. However, Benjen Stark at the feast that Howland Reed went to with the Starks offered Howland Reed some armour so that he could kind of go against the knights who the squires that bullied him were squiring for. He said, you know, you can go into this tourney, you can kind of beat these knights and then kind of demand that they make their squires respect you. You know, you can kind of gain back some respect from these people. However, Howland Reed was really unsure because he thought that he might kind of enter the tourney and not be able to defeat the 3 knights. I mean, that's pretty awkward. If he entered the tourney and was like, yeah, I'm gonna show everyone, and then he gets like dropped on his ass, and it's kind of just awkward situation. So rumour has it that he didn't want to do it. However, the next day the Knight of the Laughing Tree entered and defeated the 3 knights. Guess which 3 knights? It was the 3 knights, the squires who were bullying Howland Reed, squired for. And to take it further, the Knight of the Laughing Tree then took custody of the 3 knights' horses and armour and told them if they wanted it back, they would have to talk to their squires and show them to respect people and admonish them for their actions. The knights agreed and got back their property. So it speaks a lot to who this character could be if their main aim was to embarrass these squires and make sure that the knights reprimanded them. So if Howland Reed didn't enter, who did? It stands to reason that it might have been Lyanna Stark. Now, first of all, we have to look at her personality. She was a she-wolf. Ned Stark said about her that if she was allowed to, she would have carried a weapon. She was very much like Arya, and they're always compared to each other. Lyanna was a very fierce person. And I think if she wanted to do something and she wanted to stand up for someone she cared about or was friends with, that she would. Also, she was an extremely honourable person. If she felt she needed to defend Howland Reed's honour, I don't think anything would have stopped her. Also, the description about the Knight of the Laughing Tree holds up that it could be Lyanna. The Knight of the Laughing Tree was said to be short in stature with a booming male voice. Lyanna would be shorter, and it's possible she put on a male voice and kind of did it a little bit wrong. And also, the knight was wearing mismatched armour that didn't quite fit him or her right. This made sense as Lyanna wouldn't have her own armour, and no armour would fit her right because she's a woman and it's only designed for a male frame. Also, just the kind of Knight of the Laughing Tree's actions speak for the fact it was Lyanna, you know. He went against these 3 knights and then dropped out. He was kind of a very good rider, and Lyanna was always said to be an amazing rider. It was said that was like her best thing, to be able to ride a horse. So that would stand up that she would be good at jousting, as it primarily involves navigating a horse well. Also, the reason the Knight of the Laughing Tree had that name dubbed to him was because he held a shield with a laughing weirwood tree on it. As we know, Lyanna was from the north, and thus, it just kind of links that connection between Lyanna and the Knight of the Laughing Tree. So if we accept the fact that Lyanna may have been the Knight of the Laughing Tree, that creates huge kind of implications for some storylines going ahead. Now, when King Aerys saw the Knight of the Laughing Tree, he felt extremely uneasy because this guy thought he was being assassinated by everybody. So he didn't like this mysterious figure showing up and kind of messing around. He thought it was someone sent to kill him. So he sent his son Rhaegar after the Knight of the Laughing Tree. Rhaegar, however, didn't find the Knight of the Laughing Tree. Instead, he found a shield propped against the tree when he went to go and search for him. Or did he? In my opinion, I think Rhaegar found the Knight of the Laughing Tree, and I think he may have uncovered that it was Lyanna. First of all, it would make sense in terms of their first meeting. The only time they'd actually seen each other before was when Rhaegar sang at the feast for the tourney, and Lyanna cried because of how beautiful his voice was. However, Rhaegar then named her the Queen of Love and Beauty a couple of days later. It doesn't make much sense to me that he'd risk offending 3 houses and slighting his wife just to name a stranger Queen of Love and Beauty. I mean, yes, Lyanna was said to be very beautiful, but why would he caused such offence to do such an action that was a really empty gesture. I mean, it didn't really make sense. So it's possible he found out she was the Knight of the Laughing Tree, uncovered who she was, and crowned her on that basis. Maybe not that he'd fallen in love with her yet, he might have crowned her just because he found what she did honourable, and he thought that it was very kind of a nice thing for her to do, and he was kind of acknowledging her that way. It could also be that he fell in love with her at first sight, looked at her, saw how fearsome she was and how beautiful she was, and that made him kind of fall for her. It also makes sense because the marriage between Rhaegar Targaryen and Elia Martell was an arranged marriage. It was done to strengthen relations between the Targaryens and Dawn. They probably fell in love with each other later down the line. It's said that Elia did love Rhaegar, but there's nothing to suggest that they were this deeply impassioned in love couple. They were forced into this marriage. So it's possible that Rhaegar's eye kind of wandered and he began to fall for Lyanna Stark. She was also the complete opposite of Elia Martell. She was very fierce, she wasn't the traditional lady or wife of the time, and it's possible Rhaegar's eyes strayed towards her and he began to fall for her, hence again him naming her his Queen of Love and Beauty. So if we accept that as true, I know you guys, I know you are delving deep into speculation with me here. Just hold on. Hold on to me. I will get us through this deep realm of murky possibilities and very, very little evidence. So the idea is that possibly Lyanna was the Knight of the Laughing Tree. Rhaegar found out and began to fall in love with her, hence him naming her his Queen of Love and Beauty. This has huge impact on what happens later on in the story, when Rhaegar apparently kidnapped Lyanna and ran away with her. I am of the belief that Lyanna ran off with him because, you know what, I think she probably fell for Rhaegar too. You know, I mean, if you look at her relationship with Robert Baratheon, who was she betrothed to, it's rumoured she didn't trust him. She told Ned that she was worried about the fact that he was a serial adulterer and would happily sleep with anything that looked his way. She didn't like the fact he was a drinker. And Lyanna and Robert don't seem suited to each other. Ned once told Robert that he didn't really know Lyanna. He only saw her for her beauty, not the steel underneath. And when Lyanna was buried in Winterfell, Robert Baratheon told him that he should have buried her somewhere beautiful with the sun ahead of her. Ned told him that actually Lyanna wanted to be buried in Winterfell. It doesn't seem like Robert knew anything about Lyanna apart from her beauty. I mean, yeah, I get it, she was hot, but don't you want to know her personality before you marry her? I guess everyone dies really early in the Westeros world, so I guess he could have stared at her for however long they married, but that would be super creepy. But yeah, basically, I think that Lyanna may have ran off with Rhaegar. I mean, there's not really a lot of evidence to support it, but I'm going with it. I don't know, I just think that kind of Lyanna wasn't really in love with Robert Baratheon. It was not necessarily true that Rhaegar was in love with Elia. They disappeared at this time together. The way Lyanna acted in the show when Ned met her at the Tower of Joy didn't seem to me like someone who'd been kidnapped and raped. It seemed like someone who was telling Ned to look after her child. She wasn't like, oh, thank you so much for coming and saving me. You know, she was like, it doesn't matter, take care of the baby, you know. She didn't say anything about the fact that she'd been abducted and raped. And also as well, the place he took her is a bit odd for the whole abduction rape scene. He took her to Dawn in the Tower of Joy, one of the most forgiving kind of countries in Westeros and one of the more kind of lax in terms of relationships. It's possible he took her there so he could marry her. Targaryens regularly took 2 wives. It's possible he took her there so that she could have his bastard child and kind of be a bit more forgiving that. There's kind of all kinds of speculation around that relationship. But just in my opinion, I don't think that it was a kidnap and rape situation. If we need to ask anyone, let's ask Littlefinger, because when Sansa tells him, you know, Lyanna was raped and kidnapped, did you see his face? Did you see his face? Because to me, that guy knows everything. He probably knows R+L=J. So he knows absolutely everything. Does his face look like the face of someone who thinks Lyanna was raped? No. It looks like the face of someone who knows what went down. Wouldn't surprise me if Littlefinger was the only person present to Lyanna and Rhaegar's marriage. I mean, I think he was about 10 at the time, maybe a little bit younger. That's not the point. Wouldn't shock me. But yeah, that's kind of everything surrounding those relationships and what happened at the tourney. I just wanted to give you a basic background of it, and now I'm going to go into why I think it's going to appear in the show. So, I'll just put a screenshot up here now. This is from the Season 7 in production tease, and if you look on the far side of the screen, I think to you guys it'll be on the right hand side of the screen, there is a shield in the corner with a yellow background and bats across the shield. This is the sigil of Lord Went, the Went family. Now, why would this be included in the in-production tease if it wasn't for the tourney at Harrenhal? They have no other reason for it to happen. Yes, they could be including when the dragons roasted Lord Went in his castle, even though that seems a little bit redundant other than showing dragon power. So I think this kind of speaks to the fact the tourney at Harrenhal may be happening. Remember that the in-production tease is like 2 minutes 50 seconds long. They picked every shot out painstakingly, so that could be a little Easter egg that they're going to include the tourney. Also, in terms of casting decisions, at the moment they're casting for a 16-year-old girl. Now, I know that's a little bit kind of grasping at straws, but at the time of the tourney, Lyanna Stark was 16 years old. Does add up, even though it is a little bit hopeful. Yeah, that's kind of everything I have today. That's the basic history surrounding the tourney, about the theory of the Night of the Laughing Tree and the Rhaegar-Lyanna relationship, and also why I think it's going to appear in Season 7. I think if it does appear in Season 7, they will kind of shorten it and adapt it. I think they might not include the Night of the Laughing Tree, which would be really, really gutting to me. They might instead just kind of show Lyanna and Rhaegar falling for each other in secret. Yeah, I think they will include it in the show. I think it's such an important event, they can't ignore it, especially as we delve deeper into Jon's parentage. Because in the show, we don't actually know who Jon's parent is yet. I mean, we know it's obviously Rhaegar Targaryen, they included it on the HBO website, but they haven't explicitly stated on the show that Jon is half Targaryen. All we know at the moment is that he's Lyanna Stark's son. I mean, I know it's Rhaegar Targaryen, but I want them to show it us explicitly. You know, I want it seen on screen, mainly because I want the tourney at Harrenhal, because it's so good. So good. But yeah, that's pretty much everything for today, guys. I do hope you enjoyed this video, and I will be back in a few days, hopefully, with another theory video. I just want to mention one more thing. The reason I kind of wanted to do this video was I was, like, kind of looking online at, like, Rhaegar and Lyanna video, and I basically found one that depicted the tourney at Harrenhal. I will link it below, and I will link the girl's page. She's an amazing editor, and you guys should definitely go check that out. It's like TV quality kind of manips, and, like, really, really good. It's just awesome. It kind of made me want to do this video because of how well she depicted it happening. So go and check that out. Like and subscribe if you do enjoy this channel. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, requests, comment below and I will get back to you. And I will see you soon, guys. Okay, bye! And was like, "Oh, my name's Lyanna," and fucked it up a bit. And I'm so cutting that part out. Oh my god, I sounded like a dick. Anyway,